Can you hear me out there?
Loud and clear.
And I have 5 people in the studio here, 6 people. So okay, all right. So we were off to a bit of a false start there. I was actually in another studio broadcasting, only to know that I wasn't on with you guys. But we're still on live. We're back. The numbers to call. Well, the number to call is 491-4995. And today the discussion is going to be about the Integrity Commission. I'm going to continue about the Integrity Commission. Now, the fortunate thing is that I can start from top. But first of all, let me just welcome Uniters to this discussion. Let me welcome Uniters who are willing to share with us tonight. I see the messages coming in. Thank you for joining us as usual. We know you have a choice for your evening and you choose to spend it with us. We will make sure that you are educated for your time. After all, the UIC is the education party. We're going to make sure that you know what is happening in Jamaica. Tonight, we're discussing the Integrity Commission. And as its name said, they're a commission of parliament to protect the integrity of the political process. But here we are with neither the political process having integrity nor the commission. So, what are we to do? And of course, it's obvious that this system is flawed, it's broken, and we need a change. So, isn't it UIC time? But I need you to do me a favor. While we're here waiting on others to join, while you're listening to me share with you about the Integrity Commission, share this stream with a friend and ask them to share it with another, and just with an open mind and an open ear. Just listen. It might make sense. And of course, we appreciate your comments as usual, and we appreciate your likes just as much. My name is Winston Wright. I'm the UIC chairman. And again, you can call me at 491-4995 on WhatsApp, please. I know a couple of people try calling straight, but you won't get me if you call straight. But if you call WhatsApp, we'll be able to share our lovely conversation. I'll be able to take your questions and help clarify, educate, each one teach one. So, yes, we're talking about the Integrity Commission. And to go back to give a history, the Integrity Commission is a commission of parliament, meaning it's a group that has been brought together to create a process to protect the representative process. And this commission reports to the Parliamentary Oversight Committee. This committee is currently chaired by Edmund Bartlett on behalf of the opposition, sorry, on behalf of the government. And it has several members, including members of the opposition. We also have the Public Accounts and Appropriations Committee, which look at fiscal matter that gives oversight on fiscal matters. So those two committees, in our purview, has oversight for what happens now. How the commission became embroiled in controversy. We were advised via the news media that the Prime Minister was reported to the prosecutorial arm of the Integrity Commission for prosecution. And it created a whole uproar because shortly after that news broke again that they have decided that the corruption prosecutor has decided not to pursue charges against the Prime Minister. Now, a lot of persons were in uproar because the Prime Minister, they believe that based on what they saw, the Prime Minister should be prosecuted. And the UIC issued a press release condemning the failure to prosecute the Prime Minister. And here's why we did that. After consulting with our legal advisor, we were satisfied that the report from the Director of Corruption Prosecution did not exonerate the Prime Minister. And this is contrary to what Dale Wright has said in Parliament, what Everard Warmington has said in Parliament, what um what's his other gentleman, several of the JLP members of Parliament and members of the different houses have contended that the report exonerates the Prime Minister. Now, when the Integrity Commission appeared before Parliament, before the Parliamentary Oversight Committee, they used this phrase: the report from the investigator stands on its own, meaning the evidence outlined in it they believe created a case. And the report from the Director of Corruption Prosecution stands on its own, which means that the finding of that report is also a document that will stand up to scrutiny on its own. Now we'll skip all the back and forth that was in the investigative report and go to the prosecutorial report, the report from the Director of Corruption Prosecution. And the last line, the last paragraph of that is what I'd like to draw people's attention to for persons who would like to read the report. Go to the last paragraph and you will see where it mentions that no charges will be brought against the Prime Minister. He will not be prosecuted because there will be a difficulty in overcoming a process abuse argument. Now, what does that mean? That's just fancy legal talk. Process abuse is referring to your rights to due process, what they call due process. Your right to defend yourself, your reputation, and your good name. And they're saying because 13 years had passed since this alleged offense, the defense that the Prime Minister will put forward, if taken to court, is that this is so long ago and the circumstances were what I had to work with. I didn't do anything wrong. And will ask for the case to be dismissed on that grounds. But I'm aware, and I stand open to correction, but I'm aware that there are no statute of limitation in the current legislation. And one of the amendments being proposed right now by the House is to put a statute of limitation so that way they can't go back in time and investigate wrongdoings. Now, does that sound like a government that is open to oversight? No, it sounds like a government that has something to hide. And apparently there was something to hide 13 years ago. Now, people were surprised to hear that the case got brought. I wasn't. Because I remember a journalist several months prior to this in a public forum questioned the Prime Minister, asked the question of him straightforwardly and openly: is it true that you and your wife are being referred to the Integrity Commission for prosecution? And he didn't answer, he was mum on the question. But here we are, said referral. And it shows you how lazy journalism is in Jamaica if no one picked up on that. Since no one picked up on that and followed that thread, again, here we are. Now, the commission tabled a report, then we condemn the failure to prosecute or to follow through with prosecution or attempt to prosecute, because we know that the legal process requires that the matter be ventilated in court, since there is no process exemption, meaning no statute of limitation expiration, so he can walk free. So, since there was no such process exoneration, then we asked our legal advisor, on what grounds do you think, based on the law, the Director of Corruption Prosecution can refuse to prosecute? And when we looked at the law gave the Director of Corruption Prosecution the right to do so, to refuse to prosecute, just like the DPP, who on several occasions play ball with her political cronies and refused to prosecute on various matters, even though there was a prima facie case. And that is just, again, legal speak for a case on the face of it, meaning just at looking at it, there is a case, and refused to prosecute. And guess what? The director of corruption prosecution did the same thing, refused to prosecute because they were afraid that the prime minister's defense would be, I'm making a process application. This thing has been done so long ago, I cannot be prosecuted for it. So now they made that ruling and that information came out. Of course, the UIC condemned it. But we weren't satisfied with that because when we spoke to our legal advisor was also concerned. The director of corruption prosecution came to this judgment. But how did he or she come to that judgment? How did that office come to that judgment? Was there consultation with, say, the attorney general? Was there consultation with the director of public prosecution? Was there consultation with the director? Who? And because there was no such consultation, we believe that this was a fundamental flaw, not only in the law, but in practice. That being said, we opted to take a strong stance. And when we issued that press release, that was the beginning of it for us. We consulted with our lawyers again, and this time we brought our legal advisor in and met with us and a local legal counsel, who I will not mention his name. And we reviewed the report and presented a case brief, as in what direction we would want the case to go, to this legal counsel for him to consider taking a case to the Supreme Court for a judicial review of the decision by the Director of Corruption Prosecution not to prosecute. Yes, you heard me. The UIC wanted to force the hands of the corruption prosecutor to make sure she did go ahead and prosecute. Now, we were all set to do that, but when we were hit with a $5 million legal estimate, we opted not to, because the resources that we have are limited, and our president, in good practice, and myself in concurrence with him, could not use our limited resources on this matter when there are other avenues and other things out there for the UIC to do in your name. We even contemplated setting up a fundraising event for this, but unfortunately, because we only had 2 weeks to respond to this matter legally, we had to make a choice. And so we wrote a very, very stern letter. And this letter was written firstly to the Public Administrations and Accounts Committee. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read those letters for you. I'll start with the press release that we had issued in this matter when the case came to light. When the case came to light, we issued a press release. It says the UIC demands that the government senators stand down on their resignation call for the executive director of the Integrity Commission. Because at that time, they were calling for him to resign. We also issued a press release condemning the matter. So there's another press release out there. The UIC is reminding government senators that the ruling by the Director of Corruption Prosecution opted out of dragging PM Holness before the courts on a technicality. This ruling, from our broad understanding, did not proffer an exoneration, but rather opted for non-prosecution on the grounds of due process protection. And as I said before, to say that you have a right not to face the court after such a long time. Our party finds it necessary to urge caution against acts we perceive as political bullying of an oversight body. The Integrity Commission is just another body that offended the government and the PM by airing the dirty laundry of the corrupt governance system in which the group abide. No executive director in person is a persona non grata, a person that is not welcome. There were and are questions to be answered about the timeliness of reporting the investigative savvy employees in this case. However, the work of the commission, while comparable to holding back a deluge, a lot of water with a teacup, protects Jamaica in ways the partisan and polarized Senate cannot. Yes, the Senate that is supposed to protect us from unjust laws keeps failing, but the commission is trying. I have Mark calling. Let me take this call. Mark, good evening. You're on with Winston.
Hey, what going on, family?
Good evening, family. You're live with your fellow Uniters.
Oh my God, brother. Uh,
Yes, welcome to the
all right.
program. So we're
Oh, the
just
program.
yes, the program is on and live, and you're on. We're talking about the Integrity Commission combating corruption or protecting politicians. They seem to be lost as to the direction they should go by way of how they have treated with the Prime Minister's case at the Integrity Commission. Do you wish to comment or share a question?
You know, point blank, I didn't know on live. I was just about to ask you a question, differently from this, what going on. But sorry about that. Oh my God.
No problem, family. Feel free to tune in. I know you usually catch up on the lives after, right? But
All right,
feel
right.
free to tune in with the family, like, share, and subscribe. Well, you're subscribed, of course. But
Okay, my
definitely
brother.
after the program, we'll touch base.
Okay, my brother.
All right, Mark.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Now, man, it's fine. Good to hear from you.
Okay, sir.
All right. So that's us connecting across the miles. So just so you know, the system work. Give us a call. Let's talk. Right. So the Senate that is supposed to protect you can't, but the Integrity Commission is trying, even though it's lost in the weeds of to what it should do. Our final paragraph says these government senators are being advised to work to create a legislative environment where the actions of persons in public office will not only suffer a 9-day media embarrassment for any corrupt act, but real consequences as do the rest of the country. So that was what we started out with. And of course, you wouldn't have seen that unless you tuned into our pages because they don't publish what the UIC has to say because we don't speak their language. The other two parties were calling for the heads of the commissioners. We weren't. We were asking for them to explain themselves, yes. We were asking for them to decide what the true actions they should take are, but we weren't asking for their heads. Now, we went further because we weren't satisfied with what was taking place. So we wrote to another commission of parliament to have another oversight body of parliament rather to have the matter ventilated since monetarily we weren't able to despite your strong contribution and your strong support, and that's why we encourage you to donate. So if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see a little QR code. If you scan that, it will take you to our membership page and to our donation portal. So we need members, we need talent, we need people who will stand up for right, and we need people who will support the movement because we want this movement to be owned by you, not by special interest money. So again, like, share, subscribe, become a member. Let's start our groups in our communities. So we wrote to the PAAC, and the letter goes like this: Michael Phillips, Chairperson, Public Administrations and Appropriations Committee, Jamaica Parliament. Read Director of Corruption Prosecution ruling concerning Andrew Holness. And our president penned this letter personally. Dear Chairman Phillips, the United Independence Congress, being mindful of the reporting around this case, believes strongly that the nation at large requires more than well worded press releases and sound bites on this matter. We have considered the legalities of the actions by the subject office and believe this matter falls under the purview of your committee for administrative review. At the heart of this matter is the handling of the public treasury and the actions which may have contravened those regulations. So if you notice, like the other people, we're not talking about whether or not the Integrity Commission had a right to, or whether it was a process abuse, or any of those distracting things. We spoke to the heart of the matter, and the heart of the matter was what? Simply this: how the public treasury was handled, and our president says it. We asked that the executive director, the director of investigations, and the director of corruption prosecution of the Integrity Commission be summoned to give justification for their actions and decisions pertaining to this affair. The language of the reports on the substantive matter have been reviewed by our national executive and legal counsel with the consensus that the commission's the commission's lack of follow through falls short of holding public figures accountable for their wholly inappropriate behaviors. So you know what we said again? We weren't distracted. We went to the heart of the issue, calling out the commission as well for failing to prosecute the prime minister. We said the decision seems strange. The decision is shaky. In closing, the UIC restates its demand that the PAAC review the actions of the Integrity Commission directors in question to ascertain where any actions may have fallen short of the standard required by law. Under Holiness, in such an instance, we expect the commission to act as per the law and pursue the matter concerning Andrew Holness in court. Failing a satisfactory answer from your office and or an anemic review, the UIC will institute proceedings for a judicial review of the case. Whilst the UIC as a political organization has no faith in the current political system and its various procedures, we are hoping that your office will act in the best interest of the Jamaican people. Yours truly, Joseph L. Patterson. You hear how your president talk to them? You hear how your president let them know what is what? Yes, he did. And guess what? They were too cowardly to do anything anyway. So they left the matter, and of course, the president needed to make sure that the Jamaican population is protected. He wanted to ensure that your rights are protected. So this matter isn't over for us. We're still looking at alternatives, even though our options, admittedly, are limited. But we again stood up for your rights when the two political parties were quarreling away. So, with the president looking for alternative, I penned a letter to the House, and this was on the 25th of March. It was addressed to the clerk of the Houses, House of Parliament, Garden House, and Duke Street. Dear Sir, Madam, greetings from the United Independence Congress. Through your office, we are requesting the full schedule of meetings for the Joint Select Committee and the Integrity Commission Act of 2017. Also, the UIC wishes to make a submission to this committee. However, we are uncertain as to whether the committee is accepting submissions. We are also unclear as to how or whom we should make this request of to make the submission. Please update us on the protocol for requesting submissions to a joint select committee and to whom this should be sent. Now, there's a process to get to these committees that are reviewing laws. And there are a lot of these committees meeting because there's a rush to canonize certain things in law to disenfranchise us. Today, for example, I spent a substantive amount of time reviewing the work of the committee looking at the Teaching Council Act, the Teaching Council, Jamaica Teaching Council legislation. And to my horror, I see parliamentarians who should be acting in the best interest of the people, looking to force legislation into existence that is not in the best interest of the people, that has questionable interpretations, interpretation that is less than what the law was intended to do. And while I've been paying attention to these committees, this is the second or third time I've seen that so far, and we all know about that infamous Road Traffic Act amendment. So, ladies and gentlemen, the government doesn't work for you in no way, shape, or form. That special interest money, the PSOJ oligarchs that fund their parties to the tunes of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, own them lock, stock, and barrel. So if the politicians are owned, these career politicians, these colonial politicians, these neo-colonialists, if they are owned by big money in little Jamaica, what do you own? How will you combat that? Or are you willing to put your money and your mind where your mouth is? Let's do that and see the wonderful result we will have based on the plans of the United Independence Congress. But we come back to the Integrity Commission fiasco. So we demanded that the Integrity Commission appear, but they didn't. They did it at their own sweet time and in their own sweet way. So to that letter, the chairman responded and said that the Oversight Committee, which is chaired by Mr. Bartlett, is responsible for the Integrity Commission oversight. But I had no faith in that committee. Why? Because it's a government-run committee, and they will look to skew the law, and so they did. When the commissioners appeared in front of that committee, they were harangued and bullied and accused of very unpatriotic things. And all the time, it showed that all persons sitting there judging that committee had no idea how the process worked and had to be asking them how the process works, which was important to establish from the beginning. And the commissioners continually says that you don't understand how this works. This is how you created the law. So they created a law, and the effects of the law beat them in the ass for once, forgive the language. And they in turn had a problem with it. But all the time they create laws that have unintended and serious consequences for us. And we have no recourse but to face it and suffer through it. Now they go and change the law because they don't want to have those unintended consequences or have to suffer through it. The only way to get over this, to finally take this country back, is to take charge of the process that they are using against us. So be mindful of that, ladies and gentlemen. But I continue. So they appeared in front of the committee, and the committee questioned them, and at the end of it, they said, you know what, we're going to change the law. And they're head strong and running headlong to do this. and they will meet again to continue this process, while at the same time ignoring the facts of the matter that the report didn't exonerate the Prime Minister and nothing is being done about it. And no one is doing like the UIC wants to do or doing as the UIC would have done, and is to take the matter to court to have it ventilated. And they won't do that because if they do, it has implications for those as well who aren't part of it, because somewhere down the road, at some point, they will get snared in their own trap. But I digress. So here we are today with the commission having made up their mind to let the Prime Minister go instead of having him explain himself to the people of Jamaica, instead of having him explain himself to the nation. He can remain mum on this matter while his spin doctors run around and create distracting moves to distract you from the fact that lots of money, millions and millions of dollars of your tax dollars went for work, that there's question about influence, which ultimately leads to questions about who was disenfranchised. And if someone was disenfranchised, the UIC has a problem because we believe in equal protection. We believe in being above force or fraud. And you know that. You're here with us every evening. So you hear the ways of the UIC and you see the values of the UIC. So now, what does that mean for Jamaica now that the Integrity Commission, a commission of parliament, is up against the ropes? Warmington has proposed a raft of amendments to the laws that is now being considered by those members of the committee who will later recommend it to the Senate. And we all know that the Senate is a rubber stamp for the government. Those measures include removing the Auditor General from the Integrity Commission. It will also include removing the prosecutorial powers from the Integrity Commission and giving it to the DPP or back to the DPP. And I'll explain how that works in a bit, because I have said before that the DPP plays political games by deciding who is politically expedient to prosecute. And of course, the most important and dangerous and deleterious move will be to remove the protection of Parliament from the utterances of the Commission and the commissioners. What that means: anyone in Parliament can call anybody in Jamaica a name or accuse them of anything, as long as it's in Parliament, because that's protected speech, because Parliament is sovereign and you are not. You are subject to libel and slander laws, but parliamentarians are not. They are free to say anything wrong or right because they are sovereign, so they are protected. And that is what the UIC will change. And we're not encouraging any kind of speech. We're encouraging responsible but free speech. Now, having said that, they will remove that consideration from the commission. And when that consideration has been removed, it means now, if they didn't have that protection when they say there is evidence to suggest that Andrew did something wrong, then Andrew could then sue them. Now, if you can be sued, are you going to pursue anyone? No. You are going to be silent. And that, my friend, is the coup de grace, the final move, the ending move to go ahead and strip the commission of its powers, just like they did to Indicom. And when they strip the commission of its powers, it will just be another group of high paying or highly paid individuals sitting down on the public purse but getting nothing done, having no effect, not calling out anybody for their wrongs, not prosecuting anybody for their injustice. they will be neutered and made to be ineffectual. And of course, we all know that's the way most of these entities operate. But know that the UIC will reverse that and give teeth to legislation that it passed. We won't have a million laws, but we'll have effective laws that will enable the different persons to act properly, act to save the country from these corrupt state actors and politicians. We will enable oversight of a different kind, oversight that is geared towards making our country better, strengthening our representation, and allowing persons who do the right to thrive. Now, people are going to say, boy, I don't know you do that. It's a Jamaica. But simple. Look at it. If the Integrity Commission did this much on half a leg, imagine if they had two legs to stand on. Imagine if they had support. Imagine if the law was crafted properly to give them the right to do what they need to do. Then all these corrupt persons would have faced the courts. And guess what? Right now, there are other politicians being referred for prosecution for different reasons, of course. Some of them haven't made their statutory declaration, they haven't indicated how much money they have. So the powers that be can see that they are not enriching themselves. But of course, this law is as porous as my grandma sieve. We all know that. So since it's so porous, they will escape it anyway, but they put on a farce, a charade, to let us think that they are trying to be subject to the laws that we are subjected to. But just know that just like George Orwell's Animal Farm, they are separate but equal. They are more equal than us. And UIC will change that because equality is only one way. There's only one type of equality. And we will make sure that Jamaicans have that for the first time in the decades that we have inhabited this beautiful island. So now, we want to turn back what they're doing. The stripping of regulatory oversight. We want to push back at that. And I'm asking you to, just like how we have written, you can write too. And if you don't know where to send your letter, sign it and send it to us, and we will send it to them. Send us your email attachments, and we will send it to them so they can see that uniters are demanding better. We are united, we're in support. That's not too much to ask, is it? If you want, you can copy our letter and put your name on it. It'll make it easier for you. Or you can just put it on email and send it to us. We will package that and send it to them. We have to get proactive. We have to get active. Sitting down and talking is not the way to go. There are other things that we need to do. Right now, we face the gravest threat there is, and persons still haven't recognized the confluence of circumstance working against us. We have seen the emergence of new social trends to create new social hierarchies and orders that will strengthen the hold of these neo-colonialists over us and our children. And I appreciate the blood that was shed by my ancestors to liberate me. And I will fight just the same to keep my kids free. And even your kids and your grandkids. But let us not stand and say we are waiting on the great deliverance, but recognize that we've been given the ability to be our own deliverers. We only need leadership and unity. And Mr. Joseph L. Patterson is providing that leadership, and the United Independence Congress is providing that leadership. We don't need to unite around our candidates in the different divisions and our MP candidates in the different constituencies. We need to create our groups of tens. We need to spend even 5 minutes liking the lives, sharing so we can beat the algorithm, and the information that we are presenting to Jamaicans, the lessons that we are teaching, will become global. We will empower the people. And we saw what people power did in the past. We saw what it did during the slavery movement. We saw what it did during the franchise movement, that is people fighting for the right to vote. And we saw what it did during the black consciousness movement. We still have those potential. We believe that because we drove a car or we're driving a car, we're in a better position. No, the economic strings are still being pulled by the connected few, by the politically aligned, by those in that cabal, that boys club, and we are getting the trickle down effects. We don't want no crumbs from master table. We want our own means. We want our own means of control and our own means of economic empowerment, just like Marcus Garvey taught. We want to be in control of our own destiny. We want to be our own provider. We don't want to be provided for. But for us to have that, we have to stand up and be counted. We will never survive in their system because they'll do everything to pull us in deeper and deeper. So we have to do what we must and take over their system and make it what we need it to be. It's a simple and straightforward plan, Uniters. Tell me if you agree. And by the way, just to remind you that you can call me at 491-4995. I've had the lines open for the past 3 nights, only 2 calls. Very disappointed, my Uniters. Thought you'd want to share with me more. Thought you would have a question that you need clarification on. So if you have a question about this Integrity Commission mess, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to answer your question. Looking forward to hearing from you before we wrap up in the next, looks like 12 minutes. Or is it, 18 minutes. Yeah. So if you're putting questions in the chat, because I see the chat very active, bear in mind that I won't see that because of what is going on. So feel free to give me a call and we can share. Someone just said, I hope. Can't read that though. The chat isn't working so good. Sorry. Yeah, that's a bit of a blur for me. All right, so back to the Integrity Commission. So they have asked, they have advised us that we can still make a submission to the commission, and we will make that. Cool guy, our number is at the bottom of the screen. It's 491-4995. 491-4995. All right, I think I got a handle on this thing now, though. All right, I think my computer was out of focus or something. All right, so Sean Campbell says UIC has great ideas and vision for Jamaica, but if we don't get the message out, people, great ideas are useless if the people don't know about them. Thank you, Sean. Great sentiment. And how do we get that information out? It is not hard. It is not hard. Share this live with your friends and relatives and ask them to like and share. Ask them to be a part of sharing the message. The people power will take us there. And so let's get this done. Let's share the message. Let's pass the message on. Each one teach one. So again, the WhatsApp number is 491-4995. Give me a call. Let's talk. All right. Now, the Integrity Commission, they are continuing considerations for how they'll change the law. And as I said, the way they want to change the law will render the Integrity Commission useless, more useless than it already is. Now, here is what will happen. Under the Constitution, the Director of Public Prosecution has the right to start, enter, or end any prosecution taking place. Any. Now, even though you as an individual have the right to what is referred to as a private prosecution, meaning you can hire an attorney to prosecute a matter on your behalf instead of waiting on the clerk of the court to do it or the director of public prosecutions. But the director of public prosecution, through the office of the DPP, can start and in this case stop any prosecution. So when the DPP gets a case file, just like the director of corruption prevention, corruption prosecution in the office of the Integrity Commission will say, I'm not going to prosecute, the DPP can and will do the same. Yes, can and will do the same. As a matter of fact, there is more instances of the DPP doing this in politically charged ways without any consideration for the optics of the situation, for the feelings of those involved. None whatsoever. We have a call coming in. Let me take this call. Good evening, caller. You're on live with UIC. Do you have a question or a comment for me?
Mr. Wright, how are you, sir?
Good evening, sir. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm pretty good.
Wonderful.
Good to hear you. I just turn my thing down because I don't want to feedback here. Sir, thank you for the wonderful job you've been doing, sir. You know, it's not really a question I had to ask. I'm just kind of ranting with you guys,
Thank you
And
for that.
I was listening to a program, and there's this distinguished gentleman we have in Jamaica. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, my brother. Keep going.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's this extinguished gentleman we have in here in Jamaica, and he's gonna run as a member of parliament, right?
Right.
And he was asked a question about like what is he going to do, or is how his task as a member of parliament. And trust me, I was flabbergasted by his answer. You know,
Wow.
I don't want to call his name. I don't want to call his name, but he, you know, I've come to realize that people who are bright are not necessarily smart.
Our president
No,
said the
I'm
same thing.
serious.
Our president says the
A
same
lo-
thing.
People who are bright are not necessarily smart because the thing, and I can call the party that he's going to run with. He's going to run on the PNP,
Okay.
and I'm thinking like, what is wrong with these people? What is it that they're not seeing with the UICs? Like, I'm sure listen, a lot of people are hearing about UIC, but they pretend, especially the ones who are who doesn't want to be known out there.
Thank you for your vote of
You get what I'm
confidence, my
saying?
brother. But
No,
let me share a
Mr.
secret with
Right.
you. Let me share a secret with you.
Uh-huh.
You are absolutely
Uh-huh.
correct. They do know about the UIC. And that's why their actions by certain special interests to keep the UIC from being recognized, from having name recognition. So the media, for example, mainstream media won't carry our press releases and on our opinions and our utterances on topical issues. They rather go to persons who have literally nothing sensible to say than to speak with us, who will share
Mhm.
a different perspective that the people will like and hearken towards. Also, they
Right.
have realized that they're out of solutions because they are so tainted that they have about a dozen, a million different eventualities that they have to be looking at. Oh, will I offend this person? Will I offend that person? Will I create this blowback? So they can't think straight or do anything straight for the people. The UIC being unblemished and focused, solely focused on delivering to the people of Jamaica, has no such encumbrance. And that is key. Continue, my brother.
But you're right, and you're so right. And you know it's I'm just amazed at like how the the people in these constituencies like it, the I say oh my god, this is just
I,
so ridiculous.
I
I mean,
know.
I'm I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 at the end of this year, right?
Right.
And there are places in Jamaica that I knew was when I say bad, I'm not speaking socially bad. Like look bad, it looked bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if you go there right now, it still look bad. From a little picnic until now, it look bad.
Can I tell you
And you
can I tell you a bit about my constituency?
sure, sir.
I'm in the Betheltown division. That's in eastern Westmoreland, and it's a little farming town. It started out as a free town for slaves, where the missionary came in, got land for the two slave owners, land barons that were in this area, right? And they gave that land to the slaves to use because as a slave you couldn't own property. So after they have worked you out, or whether because of severe injury or just old age, they'll put you out to pasture, as they would say. So you don't have to go get a piece of place to catch from the missionary, do a little farming and trading with yourself to keep clothes on your back and a little food on the table. And that's all we had. And the community had
Hmm.
one straight road. And to this day, that's all the community has, one straight road. There's no industry to keep monies in the economy and develop the community. Everybody works out of town, so it's more convenient to spend out of town. So there's very little development, and there are roads that were never paved. They were just pushed and left as roads, and it's still there unpaved. So the point I'm making is
And yet,
this: after 50 years, well, 60 years, because I'm giving them a break, but after 60 years, that is a shame. And it's the same thing you're saying, that you can stand to see the lack of development after so many years and after such a heavy wastage of the public purse. Back to
and
you, my brother.
and yet me a born PNP, me a born JLP. What do I what no seriously? What do I want? What am I looking for? Do I want better? You see what I'm saying? Like I don't understand these people, and I hope I am so wrong when I see them say me a born PNP, born JLP, but a trick that they've been tricked, and they're gonna vote for the UIC because you know like oh my god, like there are so many things we could talk about tonight, but I don't want to digress too much from what I'm saying now, what you're saying, but like based on like your topic tonight, um, you know, you see that PSOJ man,
There you go. You see,
there's
it,
there's the hell don't even want these people in, Mr. Right? Hell don't want them.
wow, you've said it so pointedly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
No,
But people think that the PSOJ is only a problem in Jamaica because the UIC says it is. But special interest money is a problem in politics all over the world. Do you know that there is
absolutely.
a prominent global figure that has been banned from politics in his country because he used his wealth for social upheaval? Because
I
people recognize how dangerous these wealth monger and warmongers are.
yeah, Mr. I'm gonna show you something, Mr. Right. Um, you see, politicians, and this is what people need to learn. And I'm so glad that the social media is kind of highlighting and making people learn more now. Still, politicians always try to keep people down in order for them to look big. You
True.
see, these politicians, they are no different from the Taliban's, the Al Qaeda's, and those people. Because you see what you see when you keep the people oppressed, hungry, after a point, you can just give them anything and them look up to you as a god.
True.
Okay? And that is what politicians in Jamaica has been doing to the Jamaican people for years. When time come around, they give them some flour, they give them 50 chicken, they give them a little this, a little that, and they say, yeah, me like this man and me like this woman because he give me this and he give me that. But people don't realize like, okay, I give you this so you can give me. It's a quid pro quo kind of situation. It goes on in Jamaica.
Exactly so.
Okay, so we give you this and you give me that, and when we're done, we're gone about our business. And me get their top and me gonna make the rules and regulations for me and my big friend them, and we live big and happy. And me see up on the road and say, look on the dirty boy and the dirty girl. That's how Jamaica is. They're no different from the Taliban's. They're no different from Al Qaeda. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
They are
Definitely, my
no
brother.
different. But
I couldn't have said it.
Mr. Wright,
I couldn't have said it better myself. And we need to recognize the trickery and stand above it.
yes, yes.
But listen, my
But
brother,
I
thank you for calling in. I appreciate your
and
point of
this is
view.
cool guy. This is cool guy. I promised you I was gonna call you
Ah,
the other night, but
well, listen, I
uh,
appreciate putting a voice to the name, cool guy. Thank you for calling in again,
absolutely, sir.
and
All right, you have
thanks
a
for the
good night.
support.
Good night, Uniters. Anytime, Mr. Wright. Anytime.
God bless.
Likewise. Thank you, sir.
All right, so that was a cool guy sharing with us. And special thanks to him for reaching out. And the line is open to any member that wishes to reach out and share their point of view on a topic, any topic at all. We have a few minutes left in this matter about the Integrity Commission. So as it stands right now, I can say with all good conscience that the Integrity Commission isn't there to protect the integrity of anything. If anything, it's protecting the politician because it's incapable of combating corruption in this political system. We have another call on the line. Let me take this call. Good night, Uniter. Welcome to the live.
Mr. Wright, yes, man, you must recognize my voice already, you know.
How you
Listen,
doing,
man,
brother?
it's me, man. I have to talk to you. I'm gonna ask you this. Has
Mhm.
anyone from the UIC reach out to the rafters at White River in St. Ann there?
No, I can say definitively no that we have not reached out to the rafters at St. Ann.
Because they're going through a trying time, you know, and I tell you something. The system is pushing a lot of these kids, these young men into disaster, you know.
That is
Because
true.
Mr. Wright, if you push me one day, I'm gonna push back, you know.
No, well, they are already pushing back in a very violent
Right?
way.
Because you see, the country is out of control. You know, because the
Correct.
leadership has been failing these people for years. The leadership has failed us, man. Miserable.
That's true.
I'm a Jamaican. I'm a Jamaican, Mr. Wright, and I leave Jamaica a few years now, and I find it hard, I- based on what's happening down there right now. I find it hard to even set foot back down there. You know, because people in the diaspora come to Jamaica and they get robbed, they get tricked, they get all kind of, you know, it doesn't make sense. You know,
Right.
and if the people in Jamaica just listen to people like, because I listen, I'm on Facebook a lot, you know, not I do my comment and whatever about UIC. I push for the UIC a lot. And it's time for people to realize that we ain't getting nowhere with these two people, Mr. Wright. I was born in the 60s. And if the country's been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And to this day, look at Jamaica now compared to then.
True. Someone
It
posted.
is a
Someone
God
posted
shame.
very much so. Someone posted a video the other day of a Kingston scenery with roads paved, streets clean, and
Yes.
as it is now, Jamaica is one big mess. But
No,
to the people in White River,
no.
there are so many things happening in Jamaica that is almost
Mm.
impossible to keep up with the level of abuse,
And
mistreatment,
I know,
and
I know,
mismanagement. But
I know.
we're not abandoning the people. What we're saying is this: those guys in White River, they can reach out to us, and we'll be happy